I see there are a couple more joining us, so we'll wait maybe another minute or two, and then we will go ahead and get started. Because of the large number of attendees on these calls, we do usually keep everybody muted. But if somebody wouldn't mind using the chat feature to just confirm that you can hear me talking, that would be great. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, it is 4 o'clock here, so I will go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for joining in on our call today. As a reminder, if you didn't hear that part of the call, we are recording this just so that we can save that recording to the Society Center for those who might not be able to attend. If this is your first time attending one of these calls, again, welcome. We do have these on a monthly basis. And on these calls, we try to cover whatever is sort of most pertinent as far as MemberNation activities go. So we've had calls about things like email marketing and basic CRM phase 1. And of course, today we're going to be talking about some of the enhancements to the event management part of MemberNation. Again, during these calls, just because of the large number of attendees, we do usually keep everybody muted just to make things go a little more smoothly and to avoid any feedback on the line. So if you do have any questions, feel free to send those in through the chat functionality on the Blue Jeans page, and we will take a look at those questions at the end. We'll either answer them on the call if we have the answers handy, or if it's something we have to investigate and find out more information for you, then we'll do that. First of all, I wanted to thank those of you who have been in MemberNation already, who have looked at the events tool and have worked with that already, because a lot of what we're going to be talking about on this call, a lot of these are enhancements that came about as a result of society feedback. Basically, since we started this project and started working with societies and setting up events in the tool, we've been taking that feedback and compiling it, and then working with our vendor Fontiva to basically take those enhancements and that feedback and kind of make that happen. Basically, implement those changes and those recommendations from societies to make the tool better for everybody to use. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be talking about today. So our agenda, first of all, I'm going to give you a quick MemberNation update. We usually try to do that on each of these calls just to let you know where we're at in the project, kind of the current status of that. Then I'll give you a demonstration of what the enhanced tools are going to look like. So if somebody is registering for an event that you've set up in the new tool with the new functionality that's going to be released on Friday, then you can see what that would look like for your attendees. Then we'll talk about setting up your registration, setting up your events in the new tool using what's called the Lightning functionality, or the Lightning style event. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about cloning events. That's, again, one thing that we definitely heard feedback from societies on that would make things a lot simpler, is the ability to take one event that had already created and clone that for future events. So we'll talk about that. We'll take a look at some of the event functionality that's going to be available, as well as things like speakers and schedule items, group and table events. We'll talk about how you can customize the way your event actually displays for your attendees and for those who are interested in registering for your event. We'll take a look at some additional functionality that's in the works, and then we'll talk about kind of next steps and what you can expect going forward. And again, basically all of this information, all of this feedback, and these enhancements are in a release that's going to be launched on Friday. So once that takes place, then those of you who are already in the system should see those changes in place at that point. Those of you who are either not on the platform yet at all, or who may be somewhere in the middle of getting onboarded and getting trained, you will start seeing those changes implemented within our training materials and within our training process as you start kind of moving through that process. Okay. So first of all, MemberNation update. On the right-hand side here, you can see a quick snapshot of our roadmap over just the next few months. The full roadmap is always available on the Society Center, as well as the current weekly status update for the project. So that's always a good place to look if you want to see exactly what's going on with MemberNation at any given time. But you can see there again on the right, we've got the event enhancements that are coming out again on Friday with all of the details that we'll be talking about today. We'll also be releasing later in June, we'll be releasing the CRM Basic Phase 2, where societies will have the ability to create activities, assign tasks, and work with accounts. And we'll also be releasing some additional information for the platform itself. So support for the Canadian Anti-Spam Law, or CASL, information about contact data ownership, single sign-on login design options, and some other goodies like that. So again, that's kind of what's coming down the pike. On the left-hand side, then you can see where we're at right now. Again, the event management tool was the first piece of the MemberNation platform that was launched. We have now 18 societies using the platform. They've launched 6,800 registrations for about 200 events, and we have a whole slew of societies who are in the pipeline currently, either configuration, gathering details to get societies onboarded, farther along in the onboarding process, or actually in the training phase. So again, we'll see that the number of active societies in the tool grow over the next couple of months. The basic CRM phase 1, this is some functionality that is integrated alongside the tools themselves. So while you're setting up your events, or while you're working on creating your email templates to send out, societies are also able to see their contacts within the system. Basically, all of the same contact information that they would have, or the same contact records that they would have seen within the society portal. Societies are able to see that same information within MemberNation, and they can also do certain things like add attachments, or add notes about some of those contacts and things like that. So, and then the email marketing piece was also launched earlier this year, and we have some draft communications that are available as part of that email marketing template, or templates that can be used as part of the email marketing tool. So that's kind of where we're at with the MemberNation project itself. So let me go ahead now and show you what an event would look like that's set up within this new Lightning environment. Okay, so this is an event that I set up in our test environment. You can see that it definitely looks quite a bit different from events set up within the old interface for those who have already worked with MemberNation. You can see, again, you still have the ability to have banners, and right now the Register Now button is kind of front and center, stands out there. You can see the city and the date and time for the event. But then what you have down below, you have different tabs that you can click on to see more details about the event. So we've got an overview tab with just some information about the event in general. You can actually set up specific agenda items within your event itself. So you could have an event that runs for 4 hours, but you might indicate that the first half an hour is kind of a plenary session that everyone can attend, and then you could branch out into different tracks with different sessions that individuals can choose from when they're going through the registration process. And those different sessions can have not only can have separate tickets set up on them, they can also have different pricing set up on them. So if you want to have an event that has the option to choose, a golf tournament as part of it, or just a meeting, or you can do both, then you have the ability to price those separately. Within the venue tab, you can have details about the venue itself, including imagery. And then down below, you can have an actual Google map showing you where that venue is where that venue is. And then here we also have a speakers tab, so you could have details about your speakers, and then you can click on each speakers tab to get more details about the speaker's bio, links to their social media platforms. You can scroll from one to the other easily to see more details about those speakers. And there are other tabs that are available as well, and we'll take a look at that when we start going through and looking at how you can actually set up the tabs and the functionality there. But let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like if we were to go ahead and start registering for an event. Once you've clicked that register button, you can go ahead and an individual could go ahead and either log in with CFA Institute or just log in as a guest. And then start that process. Then on the next screen, the individual would be able to choose which ticket they wanted to purchase. You can see here that you have the ability to have group tickets. And again, we'll talk about that in a little more detail. And you can, so you can have group tickets if you'd like, or you can have general tickets, and you can base the capacity of each type depending on how you want your pricing to be structured. So for this example, I've got 3 tickets remaining of the group ticket type with the pricing of $125. And then down below, I've got 83 tickets remaining. And in this case, it does not matter if they're general tickets or member tickets. So again, if for your particular event, you don't need to define how many are actually general tickets and how many are member tickets, but you just want a total of 100 out of that group, then you can set it up this way. So let's go ahead and say that we want to choose one general ticket. Move on to the next screen. Then at this point, if I had specific agenda items, I could choose what I wanted to purchase of that agenda items. You'll see as we go through here, this is where the agenda items would be if they were set up separately. But since they aren't, then it's gone ahead and taken me through to the payment page. And I'll point out here, you can see that I have this countdown telling me how much time I have left to complete my registration. And we'll talk about exactly what this means in just a minute. And if we go to checkout, then at this point, I can go ahead and choose how I want to pay. And again, depending on what types of payments your society wants to offer, you can customize that. You also have the ability to create discount codes. So if you want to be able to offer a coupon code for a particular group of individuals, you can set that up and provide that code for individuals here. Or if you want to set up pricing so that individuals who are members of your society automatically get a member rate, you can set the system up that way so that once they log in, then the system will recognize them and offer that rate automatically. Put in the test payment information here just to go through the rest of the process. And then the individual would get a confirmation, see the confirmation screen, and would also receive a confirmation email. So that's essentially the process that an individual would go through in order to register for the event. So let's go ahead and take a look now at some of these things in more detail and talk about them a little bit. So for setting up registrations within the system, again, there's now what's called the Lightning event style. And that's basically it's going to look the way that we saw on the registration page. When you're setting up your events within this new functionality and with these new features, these events are set up directly from the Events tab for those societies who have already worked in the system and have seen what this looks like. Previously, your events usually would start from an event category, and then you would build events under that event category, and it would automatically carry over certain parameters from the category to the event. because we now have the ability to actually clone events, then that functionality has changed, and you would start by creating your event first. And again, you have the option of either cloning an event or starting from scratch. And if you are starting from scratch, again, you have 3 different registration styles. But the one that we're definitely encouraging societies to use going forward after Friday is that lightning event style, which does give you all of that full functionality. The other 2 styles, the conference and the simple, will still be there and will still be able to be used. But again, if you want to incorporate all of the functionality and features that are available, then we would definitely recommend the lightning event style. If you do choose to clone an event, you can see here's what the option would look like. You would choose either clone or create from scratch. And if you do choose to clone, you have the ability to indicate which sections you want to clone as part of that original event that you had created. So you don't necessarily have to carry over all of the same details for your event if there are some differences between the new event that you're setting up and the one that you're cloning from. So again, you can see the options that you have here for what to clone, but you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to use in setting up your new event. Some of the other functionality that's going to be part of this new release, part of these enhancements, there's an auto sellout option in which once all of the tickets are sold for your event, the system will know to automatically mark your event as sold out. If you have multiple ticket types and you have different capacities set on the different ticket types, then the system would be able to show that one particular ticket type was sold out, but the other one was not. So if you wanted to, you would have the ability to do something like creating kind of a um, an early registrant ticket, and if you wanted to set up a ticket where the first 10 people to purchase that ticket got in for a reduced rate to encourage people to register early, you could do that. And then once that early ticket is sold out, then everybody else could choose the remaining ticket option. That's just kind of an example of something that you might look into doing. Again, we talked about the registration timer, which we saw the countdown when we were looking at the registration page. And the purpose of this is that essentially once the individual starts the registration process, then the system is going to go ahead and hold the tickets that they've indicated they want to purchase. It will hold those tickets until they either complete their registration, in which case they'll go ahead and the tickets will be assigned to them, or until that timer expires. So that way, if you have somebody who logs in and they go to the registration page and they see that there's one ticket remaining and they start the registration process, you don't want somebody else to be able to come in and act quickly and take over that ticket while the other person is still trying to complete the registration. So they have that window in which to finish their registration process. And you can customize the length of time that you want that registration timer to last. Another change that will be evident for those societies who have already worked with the system is that price rules can now be adjusted within the event builder interface. So the interface looks more like this as opposed to looking more like sort of like the standard Salesforce interface. You used to have to toggle back and forth when doing some of your ticket type price rules setup, but now it's all within the same interface to make that easier and more streamlined. Speakers and schedule items, these have been enhanced as well. So we're able to capture detailed information on speakers for your event. We saw a little bit of that on the sample event that we'd set up, but you can do even more than I did on that test example there. Again, you can capture the speaker's name, title, their company name, information about their social media platforms, and you can also track the status of that speaker. So whether have they accepted your invitation to speak? Are you working to finalize details of payment and things like that? So you have the ability to track all of that information. And again, you also have the ability to define specific schedule or agenda items. So if you want, as I was saying before, if you have a 4-hour event and you want to have the first half hour of that session be a plenary session that everyone attends, but then you want to branch off into separate workshops, you can do that. You can organize those workshops into different tracks so that if you want to have one track that's about governance and another track that's about technology, individuals can kind of pick and choose amongst those. And you can also define whether or not you want an individual to be able to choose events that may overlap, or whether you want to restrict them so that they are required to pick events that would not overlap, and just depending on how you want your event to be structured. You can then also assign speakers to schedule items. So if you want to specifically define this is the speaker who's going to be talking at the plenary session, you can do that within the system as well. A couple of different types of registrations that you can offer. We saw the group ticket types within the test event that I had set up. With those group registrations, you can define the number of attendees per group. You can collect information on all of those group attendees, and you can do that in a couple of different ways. You can either set it up so that it essentially treats it as 5 separate registrations, and you fill in their information that way within the tool itself, or you can set it up as a form. And forms can be used for this purpose or for other purposes as well. Again, you could either be collecting information on the people who will be attending as part of a group, or you can collect information on dietary restrictions, basically any sorts of information that you want to collect that you would not ordinarily collect during the registration process, you can collect using this form. And with the new release on Friday, some additional functionality that's available as part of these forms is the skip logic, or branching is another way of defining that. So, for example, if you are asking individuals, do you have any dietary restrictions? If they answer no, that may be the only question that you need to ask. So that may be the end of the questions there. But if they say yes, at that point, you have the ability to ask them to explain what types of dietary restrictions they have, or you could have them choose from a pick list. If you want to give them different options, they can choose that there. So again, it just allows you to go from one question to another based on their responses. Table events are kind of similar to group registrations, but it's more of a kind of the idea of having assigned seating almost. So you might set up a table for your speakers, and those individuals would specifically purchase tickets for that specific table. At a charter award ceremony, you might have another table that's specifically for the new charter holders. And so you would have tickets available specifically for that table. You can define the pricing for the tickets at those different tables, depending on how you want your event to be set up. So again, it's just another way to kind of define your event and to set it up and take payment in the way that makes sense for your society. And then event display, obviously we saw the different tabs that are part of the system, part of the registration process there. So what you can do is you can define the tabs that you want to appear and the order in which you want them to appear, and you can have a different set of tabs based on the status of your event. So you might have one set of statuses that are available when your event is still in the planning stage. You may not want to, if you are still working on ironing out your venue or your speakers, you may not have those tabs visible. You might just put up your agenda and your overview. Then when your event is active, you might go ahead and have all of those tabs visible there, including your speakers and your venues. And then after your event is closed, you might not need some of those details as well. You might you might decide not to have the agenda information there any longer, but just have some kind of post-event information as part of that event page. Another enhancement that's going to be part of the release is that registration capacity is defined across all ticket types. So with the system previously, it was always a little bit tricky trying to iron out how many tickets of any given type were remaining, depending on how you had your event set up. If you had multiple ticket types, and one ticket type was running out, but you still had a bunch of other ticket types, and you might need to do some manual adjustments there, so that could be a little bit tricky. But now, as we saw, you're able to define an overall capacity for a group of different ticket types if you would like, so that makes it a little easier to manage that. And again, you can see here the manage inventory option, where you can group together types of tickets and the capacity that they have for each of those ticket types. All right, so before we talk about some of the additional functionality that's coming, let's go ahead and take a look at what the back end of the event looks like here. So while this is coming up, for those of you who have worked in the event builder platform already, it's going to be somewhat similar in the way that it looks, but there are going to be more tabs that are available on the left, so there are more functionality and more things that you can kind of customize. So as we start working in this, you'll see the preview kind of on the right-hand side, but there are these different tabs that you can click in to make changes to your event. So here we've got the event info tab. You can see I've got the name of my event. You can have a display name that is different from the internal event name. So if you want to refer to your event in one way internally, but a different way on the public facing pages, you can customize that here. You can define the overall ticket capacity for your event. Again, here's that auto sellout option that we talked about. You can decide whether or not you want your time for your event to display in a 24-hour clock or just a 12-hour clock. And here's where you would define that registration timer. So again, you could customize this if you want to give somebody more time to complete their registration or less time. You can customize that there. Banner images, you can browse to find them on your desktop and upload them here. And all of the details, all of the event overview details here. The next tab here is the tickets tab. And this is where you would set up your tickets, or where you would see your tickets displayed if you were cloning an event. For each of these, as I was saying, you now have the ability to not only edit the ticket type, but also edit the price rules for that ticket type within this interface, which again is an enhancement. Some of the types of information that you can change when you go in to edit your ticket type. You can see obviously the price and the name of the ticket type. You can find a description if you want to provide more details. You have the ability to enable waitlisting for any of your tickets. As you scroll down, this is where you would define if this is a group ticket. You can indicate that here, name your group type and the number of individuals that are part of that group. You also have the ability to enable refund requests, and this is one of the things that we'll talk about in just a second that's currently being configured. You can also indicate how many tickets are, if you want to be able to indicate how many tickets are remaining on the registration page, you can check that here. You can also restrict the quantity per order, so that if you want to make sure that somebody can only purchase a certain number during any single transaction, you can make that change here. Attach form. This is where if you've created one of those forms that we talked about, you can attach that here to collect information on dietary restrictions or whatever details you need to gather there. Alternate pricing. This is things like early bird pricing or on-site pricing. This is where you can set those on a particular ticket type. And then the accounting tab, if your event is taxable, you can set all of that information here. And you can also define the different accounts, your different GL accounts, where different types of funds will go. This was part of the event builder interface previously, but you had to kind of look up whatever account you wanted to link it to, whereas now you can actually start typing in it, and it will go ahead and find the code that will match whatever it is that you've started typing in there. So it's easier to add that there. As you scroll down, you can see that you can also determine the event, the order in which you want your ticket types to display, whether you want it to display by price, in price order or name order. You can also define the ticket sales start date. So if you want to, it defaults to today's date, but if you aren't ready to start selling tickets for a little while yet, you can go ahead and adjust that date accordingly. And again, you can enable group registrations if you'd like. Venues, you can see here, once it comes up, that you can add the venue for your particular event, and you can customize that. Again, you can put in the name, you can put in the description that you want to show up, the address that will drive the map display. You can decide whether or not you want the map to show up. You can attach an image of your venue, and you can put in details about that venue. And anything that you put in these overview fields will be what shows up when you click on that specific tab. Access permissions is what helps you define visibility of a particular item, whether it be an entire event or a specific ticket type. You can decide that you want to restrict visibility to just certain badge groups. And for anybody who has not worked with badges or not worked with MemberNation yet, basically badges are what define specific groups within your society based on their relationship with the society. So if an individual is a member of CFA Institute and the society, then they'll have a member badge. If they're a candidate in the CFA program, they'll have a candidate badge, and different things like that. So again, you can define which of those badges you want to be able to see either the entire event or just a specific badge or a specific ticket type, sorry. Next, we have the speakers tab. And here again, you can put in the overall speaker details, and then you can create information about your speakers here. If we click the edit button, you can see all of the different details that you can include here. These are all of the different statuses that you can select from for your speaker. You can put in the title, the company name. If the person is actually already in MemberNation, you can link to their contact record there. You can upload an image of the speaker, put in biographical information, and then down below again you can link to their Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter feeds there. Agenda items or schedule items. Again, this is where you would go in and indicate the different sessions that are part of your event if you want to break that out. We don't have any set up here, but if we take a look here, you can see how this would work. You would basically give your schedule item a name. So this could be your opening session here. You could put in a specific capacity for that particular session. So if you have a larger capacity for your opening session and then each of your breakout sessions has a smaller capacity, you can define that here. You can define the start and end, or the start date and time for your session, and then indicate how long that session is going to last. And you can, again, here you can decide whether or not you want to allow conflicts. If somebody chooses to attend two different things at the same time and they want to kind of move from one to the other, you can give them that option. You can define what room something is being held in, and you can define a specific price for just that session if you'd like. And again, you can attach forms to a specific schedule item if you would like. So if somebody signs up for a particular session and you want to ask questions of just those individuals attending that specific session, you can create a form and attach that here as well. We also then have sponsor package options. So if you want to have a platinum, gold, and silver sponsorship package for your event, you can create first those packages here, indicate the price that would be charged for those sponsor packages, and then you can define who the sponsors are who have purchased those specific packages. You can also then define the different event statuses. There are 3 that are defined kind of by default: planned, active, and closed. But you can customize those if you would like, or create new ones. And what this, again, will help you do is define the way that your event registration is going to appear based on those different statuses. So if we take a look at the Pages tab here, you can see these are my current statuses. You can see if I click on Planned, these are the tabs that are part of the planned status. So if my event was in the planning stage, it would have these 4 published tabs. And within each of those tabs, you can define what you want to appear. So this, So you can see that for my event page in this plan status, the only thing that I have showing up is event overview. You might decide that on that event page, I want not only the event overview, but I also want to go ahead and have the venue information here, or I want to have a venue map here. So again, you can define what you want to show up, not only which tabs and the order in which the tabs appear, but also what you want to show up on each of those tabs. And again, you can define a different set of tabs based on the status of the event. So then for the active status, we've got these four tabs here. But for this one, for my venue, then I've got not only the primary venue information, but I've also got the venue map there. So again, you can customize that however you need to. And then you can have a different set of tabs for the closed status. For this example, the only tab that would show up once your event is closed is just the overview tab. So again, different ways to kind of define how you want that to appear. And you can always add brand new pages if you would like. So. And then the theme is what kind of drives the way that the way that your event information looks. So this is kind of standard information that we would set up for you during the onboarding process. All right, so we've touched on some of these then, but some of the additional functionality that's being configured, again, it'll be part of that Friday release, but some of the specifics of exactly how it will work within our system are still being defined. So again, pricing will be determined by the status of the actual attendee, not necessarily the person who's completing the registration. That was one kind of wrinkle that we'd encountered with some of the system setups previously. It was doing some of the definition of the pricing based on the person who was actually completing the registration, which may not necessarily match the person who's actually attending the event. So this will take care of that and make that a little more straightforward. There's also going to be the manage my reservation process. And again, exactly how this is going to work is still being ironed out. So stay tuned for that. But what this eventually will do is it'll allow somebody who's registered for your event to be able to go back to the registration page and manage their registration or manage their reservation. So they might, if they find that they are no longer able to attend the event, instead of having to email and say, can you cancel me from this event, they can actually do that themselves. There is the ability for you to decide whether you want to allow individuals to request a refund as part of their ticket. So again, you can define that if you want to. If that request functionality is in place on a particular ticket, the individual could go in and cancel their registration and also request a refund. And then that way you could review that request and decide whether you wanted to honor it based on whatever refund policies you have in place. We're also looking at ways to actually automate that process so that if you have a specific refund policy where, up until 2 weeks before your event, anybody who requests a refund can get one. But, within, if it's within that 2-week window, then no refunds are offered without further review on your part. You could, again, define those custom refund policies, and the system could be set up to automatically offer those so that if somebody goes in and requests a refund and it's 3 weeks prior to the event, then it could automatically offer them the refund without having to do any manual intervention on your part. But if it was within that 2-week window, then it would not automatically process that. So again, that's coming, but we'll have more information on exactly how that will work. Same thing with canceling events. There will be some automation for that as well, so that if you are required to cancel an event, you would have the ability, depending again on your cancellation policies, to go ahead and have some of the steps automated for processing refunds for those individuals who had registered for the event originally. And also there will be some waitlist enhancements. So again, more information on exactly how that will be processed will be forthcoming within the next very short while, I would say. So now that we've taken a look at some of these enhancements and new features, What's next? Your best place is always the Society Center to find the most current information on the MemberNation project. We have, again, a MemberNation landing page as well as specific pages for each of the phases that a society goes through during the onboarding process. So as we craft the training materials, those will be on the train page, the train phase page on the Society Center. So that's where you can go to find those training materials. If you have any specific questions, obviously we'll still be taking a look at your questions here from the chat feature in just a second. But if you have other questions after this call, definitely feel free to email Society Tech and we can take a look at those. And then specific to this, to these event enhancements, for those societies who are already on the platform and already using it, next week we'll be offering more in-depth training on, very, very detailed on exactly how you would set up events and walking through it in more detail that way. You should have received notification from Katie Van Sciver already, and then information about that went out today on the in the MemberNation news as part of the society update as well. So if you have not received information about specifically when those calls are going to be and you would like to attend, let me know. Again, those are particularly aimed at societies who are already using the platform, because for other societies, once we basically get the training materials updated, those are going to be added to the Society Center. And as we start training new societies and bringing more societies on board for onboarding, then all of these changes will be incorporated into the training anyway. So you'll get that information as part of your standard training going forward. Again, next week we have training on event enhancements. So basically what we've been talking about today, only in more detail. And then the week after that, we're going to be having similar training on basic CRM, email marketing, and reports. And again, that's targeted mainly for those societies who are already on the platform, because again, those societies who are not yet on the platform will get that training as part of the standard onboarding package. All right, so that is what I wanted to share. So let me take a look and see what we've got as far as any questions on chat. So I have a question about how tables or groups would be counted by actual tables purchased or by head count. So the capacity that's listed there is actually a ticket capacity. So if you have a group ticket, then it's going to, one group ticket is still going to count as one ticket. So when setting up your specific capacity for your different ticket types, you would want to kind of take that into consideration. So if you have an event that has an overall capacity of 100 people, and you know that you want to be able to offer, if you're going to be offering group registrations for groups of 5, then you might have 3 groups of 5, and then you would have 85 of the rest of your tickets. So you would just want to define your ticket capacities so that they would match up to that overall ticket capacity. And then we have a question about formatting features for open text fields, such as overview and agenda pages, like adding Excel tables. That I would probably need to investigate and then get back to you, because I don't think that's anything that we've talked about. So I'll see what I can find out and provide more information on that. And we also have a question about if the speaker is linked to their contact record, would the contact information still show up on the registration page? Since that was something that we were seeing before, that's another good question that I will ask our vendor about to see if that's something that is still going to take place, or if there's been a kind of a remedy for that. And then also a question about, besides using form options, is there a way for attendees to confirm their company name when registering? If a person actually goes ahead and logs in, then you would have all of their contact details that way. There, other than so that would be one way. Obviously, if they actually register, you would have their contact details. The form is another way. Obviously, there's also the ability to ask for additional information. But that, I think, that's one thing that I had on my list to kind of investigate further, was the way that you can collect other information. So I'll take note of that and do my research on that, and then let you know what I find out, because I think that there is, but I'd probably need to put together some documentation on exactly how that would work. And then we have a question about reports, asking which report would be pulled to get a final head count. So reports within MemberNation, we have some standardized reports that we've created for societies there, and are pushing out to each society in their society folder. We have one that shows attendees, so that it would provide information on everyone who's actually registered for the event, but it would also show the attendee names, because obviously the person completing the registration may not necessarily match the name of the actual attendee. So that would be a good choice to pull in your head count. But if there are other fields that you need to be included there, or if you need that report to be customized, we can certainly work to help you customize that report in whatever way makes sense for you to get the information that you need. And obviously, societies have the ability to create their own custom reports as well. But hopefully, that training that we'll be having in week after next will provide more information on how societies can go ahead and start creating some of those reports. Question about being able to set up the system to accept both credit card and offline payments. And yes, that's definitely an option. Societies can define what types of payments they want to accept, and whether they do want to accept offline payments. So that, if that's something that's not in place for you currently, and you want that to be set up, then definitely let us know, and we can take a look at getting that set up. Looking to see if any other questions come in. We have one more coming in. There was a question about a budget tracking feature. That would need to know exactly what you were looking for there. That obviously there's reporting functionality. So depending on what you're looking for, we might be able to get that to provide some of what you were looking for in budget tracking. There is the ability to define not only the price on a ticket type, but also what the cost is to the society. So if you are offering a member rate for members, and they aren't required to pay for an event, but it's costing the society X number of dollars to actually provide the luncheon for that particular event, you can indicate that within the ticket type, so that you're collecting some of that information as well. But if there are specific features that you would like to see, or specific components that you're wondering about their availability as part of that, then definitely try sending an email to Society Tech, and we can investigate and see what the easiest way or the best way is to handle that for you. Right. Well, if you still have questions and would like to keep adding them to the chat, definitely I'll stay on for a few more minutes if you'd like. But if you don't have any more questions, I thank you definitely for attending today and learning more about these enhancements that will be going into effect at the end of this week. And again, hopefully, if you are already on the tool and would like to participate in the calls either next week or the week after, or both, then we'd encourage you to do so. And otherwise, we will talk to you again for our monthly call at the end of May, which the topic is yet to be determined on that. So it'll depend on whatever is most pressing at the time. So again, thanks very much, and we will talk to you again soon. And one final question there was about whether the MemberNation was going to be down on Friday, and we are investigating that to find out if MemberNation itself will be impacted. So we'll be finding that out for you and emailing you as soon as we have that information.